In the tapestry of nature, one predator stands apart, the human being. While most live in cooperation, a rare, chilling variant emerges. Serial killers, hunters of their own kind. Today we explore the most wanted serial killers in history, examining their crimes, methods, and the societies that struggled to stop them. This is not glorification, but a search for understanding. The darkest anomaly in the story of life on Earth. The 1990s in Colombia were a time of immense social upheaval and instability. The country was grappling with widespread violence, political corruption, and deep-seated poverty. It was within this tumultuous environment, amid constant conflict and pervasive poverty, that a monster emerged. Luis Garavito, a name that would become synonymous with unspeakable horror, was known by the chilling moniker La Bestia, the Beast. He preyed on the most vulnerable members of society, specifically targeting young, innocent boys from impoverished backgrounds, children who were already struggling to survive. Garavito was a master of deception, often disguising himself as a figure of trust, such as a priest offering solace or a charity worker promising aid. With calculated charm, he lured unsuspecting children with false promises of work opportunities or enticing gifts, preying on their desperation and naivete. Once he had gained their trust, he would lead them to remote and isolated locations, far from the eyes and ears of civilization. His brutality wasn't random, it was systematic, a carefully orchestrated series of depraved acts. He would begin by binding his victims, rendering them helpless, before subjecting them to unimaginable tortures. Ultimately, he would end their young lives, adding them to his ever-growing list of victims. For years, his heinous crimes went largely unnoticed by authorities, lost in the overwhelming number of missing persons reports. His actions were obscured by the pervasive chaos and violence that plagued the nation during that era. When finally apprehended, Garavito confessed to a staggering 147 murders. However, investigators believe that the true number of his victims may exceed 300, a horrifying testament to his reign of terror. This makes him not just a serial killer, but one of the most prolific and devastating killers in recorded history. His ability to blend seamlessly into society, coupled with his calculated exploitation of societal neglect and indifference, allowed him to evade capture for an alarmingly long period of time. It wasn't until the discovery of a mass grave, containing the remains of numerous children, that the full scope of his depravity began to surface. Luis Garavito's story serves as a grim and unsettling reminder of the profound darkness that can take root and thrive in the shadows of society, preying on the most vulnerable among us. Even now, imprisoned for his unspeakable crimes, the specter of the Beast continues to haunt the collective memory of Colombia, a chilling reminder of the evil that lurks within. In the 1970s, Pedro Lopez, the monster of the Andes, terrorized Peru, Ecuador, and Colombia. Lopez targeted young girls in remote villages, exploiting isolation and trust. He lured victims from markets, using patience and knowledge of the terrain to abduct and kill. After his 1980 capture, he confessed to over 350 murders, leading police to mass graves. Lax law enforcement and poor cross-border coordination let him operate for over a decade. Shockingly, Lopez was released in 1998 and vanished, his whereabouts unknown. He remains a chilling enigma, a predator released back into the wild. The monster of the Andes is a haunting, unfinished story. His final chapter remains unwritten. In the seemingly tranquil suburbs of England, a darkness was brewing, hidden behind the facade of trust and care. Dr. Harold Shipman, a name that would become synonymous with betrayal and horror, Dr. Death, a chilling moniker earned through unspeakable acts. He systematically betrayed the sacred trust placed in him by his patients, the very people he swore to protect. As a seemingly ordinary family doctor, he was welcomed into homes and lives. But behind the caring facade, he was secretly killing elderly women under his care, preying on their vulnerability. His method was as simple as it was sinister, administering lethal doses of diamorphine, a powerful painkiller, to end their lives. These acts of murder were often carried out during routine visits, making them all the more difficult to detect. To further conceal his heinous crimes, Shipman meticulously altered medical records to mask his actions, creating a web of deceit. He exploited the common expectation of natural death in old age, using it as a shield to deflect suspicion and continue his deadly work. For over 2 decades, this horrifying charade continued, with Shipman leaving a trail of devastation in his wake. He operated undetected for an alarmingly long time, a testament to his cunning and the trust people placed in their doctors. His victims, often frail and elderly, rarely raised suspicion, their deaths attributed to natural causes or old age. His motive wasn't financial gain but something far more disturbing: control, a desire to wield power over life and death. He played God with his patients' lives, deciding who would live and who would die, a chilling abuse of his position. Shipman's downfall ultimately came from a brazen act, a forged will, a clumsy attempt to benefit from his crimes. This, coupled with a colleague's growing suspicion about the unusually high death rate among Shipman's patients, led to an investigation. He was eventually convicted of at least 218 murders, making him one of the most prolific serial killers in history. However, many believe that the true toll of his victims may be significantly higher, perhaps reaching into the hundreds more. Shipman never fully confessed to his crimes, and he died by suicide in prison, bringing a definitive end to the legal proceedings. He took his darkest secrets with him to the grave, leaving many questions unanswered and the full extent of his crimes unknown. Harold Shipman remains a terrifying and disturbing example of the potential for evil. He serves as a chilling reminder of how evil can hide in plain sight, masked by trust and authority. The Pacific Northwest, a region known for its stunning natural beauty, found itself gripped by fear in the 1980s and 90s. In Seattle, a darkness was taking hold. Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer, would become one of America's most prolific serial murderers. His name synonymous with terror, he preyed on vulnerable sex workers and runaways, individuals often overlooked and forgotten by society. Ridgway, an unremarkable truck painter leading a seemingly normal life, lured his victims with deceptive offers of money or rides, exploiting their desperation and need. He would then strangle them, callously ending their lives, and heartlessly dump their bodies near the Green River and surrounding areas. The marginalized status of his victims, their lack of social safety nets, tragically allowed him to kill with impunity for nearly 2 decades, leaving a trail of devastation across King County. Despite being a suspect and actively investigated by law enforcement, Ridgway skillfully evaded capture for years, even managing to pass a polygraph test, further delaying justice for his victims and their families. It wasn't until significant advances in DNA technology emerged that investigators were finally able to definitively link him to the heinous crimes in 2001, providing irrefutable evidence of his guilt. In a plea deal to avoid the death penalty, he confessed to an astounding 49 murders, though authorities suspect the real number of his victims may be significantly higher, potentially exceeding 90. Ridgway's seemingly ordinary appearance and mundane life chillingly masked an extraordinary capacity for evil, a darkness that preyed upon the vulnerable. He is now serving multiple life sentences without the possibility of parole, ensuring he will never again walk free. The Green River Killer's legacy serves as a stark and enduring warning, a chilling reminder that predators can hide in plain sight, and that vigilance and compassion are essential to protecting the most vulnerable members of our society. In the collapsing Soviet Union, Andrei Chikatilo, the butcher of Rostov, thrived amid chaos. A former teacher, he preyed on children and women in public spaces, luring them with false promises. His crimes were marked by extreme violence and sexual sadism, baffling investigators in a system that denied serial murder existed. Police incompetence and misidentification allowed him to kill for 12 years. Chikatilo confessed to 56 murders after his 1990 capture. His trial was a spectacle, his execution swift. Chikatilo's reign was fueled by personal demons and a failing state. He remains a symbol of horror born from societal collapse. In rural China, 1999 to 2003, Yang Xinhai, the monster killer, terrorized 4 provinces. A drifter on a bicycle, he invaded homes at night, murdering entire families with axes or hammers. His attacks were swift, brutal, and left communities paralyzed with fear. Yang's motivation was revenge against society, channeling personal grievances into indiscriminate slaughter. He evaded a massive manhunt for years, aided by the vastness and isolation of rural China. Captured in 2003, he confessed to 67 murders and 23 rapes. Yang showed no remorse and was executed in 2004. His story is a chilling testament to rage unleashed on the innocent. In the 1970s to 80s, Daniel Camargo Barbosa exploited the borderlands of Colombia and Ecuador. Charming and eloquent, he lured young girls with plausible stories, then killed them in secluded areas. After escaping prison in Colombia, he continued his spree in Ecuador, exploiting weak cross-border law enforcement. Camargo confessed to over 140 murders across both countries. His capture came after a failed abduction. His end, at the hands of another inmate seeking revenge. Camargo's story is a warning about predators who use charm and borders as weapons. He remains one of South America's most notorious killers. His violence left scars that endure. In Brazil, Pedro Rodrigues Filho Pedrinho Matador was a vigilante serial killer. He targeted criminals, claiming to deliver justice, but his violence was relentless and personal. Rodrigues killed from a young age, including his own father in prison. He murdered at least 47 inmates while incarcerated, driven by a code of revenge and pleasure. Released in 2007, he became a minor celebrity, warning others against crime. Despite his claims of justice, his actions were fueled by bloodlust. In 2023, Rodrigues was killed, ending a life defined by violence. His story blurs the line between justice and savagery. In late 1990s Lahore, Javed Iqbal confessed to killing 100 runaway boys, sending a detailed letter to police and media. He lured victims with promises of shelter, then drugged, assaulted, and strangled them. Iqbal meticulously disposed of bodies in acid, erasing evidence and cataloging his crimes. He claimed his motive was revenge against police and society. Police found his house of horrors, complete with diaries and photographs. Iqbal was sentenced to death 100 times but died by suicide in prison before execution. His case remains one of the most disturbing in criminal history. Iqbal's legacy is a chilling reminder of cruelty and calculated evil. In 1970s America, Ted Bundy shattered the serial killer stereotype. Handsome and charismatic, he used charm to lure young women, often feigning injury to gain their trust. Bundy's crimes spanned multiple states, targeting college campuses and public spaces. He bludgeoned, raped, and murdered, often returning to his victims' remains. Bundy escaped custody twice, continuing his spree before final capture in Florida. His televised trial captivated the nation. He confessed to 30 murders, though the true number is unknown. Bundy was executed in 1989, leaving a legacy as the definitive charming psychopath. His story warns that evil can wear a friendly face. The most dangerous predators are often the least suspected. Across continents and decades, these killers exploited trust, anonymity, and society's blind spots. Their stories force us to confront the darkest corners of human nature and the importance of vigilance. By understanding their methods and the failures that enabled them, we honor the victims and strengthen our defenses. True crime is a lesson in awareness, so we may ensure such tragedies remain in the past, not the future.